And now, a math lesson. Let's say the Zaxby's chicken finger plate comes with 4, 5, or 6 hand-breaded fingers and 1 side of Zax sauce. Plus, you can try them with Zax sauce, honey mustard, hot honey mustard, tongue torch, teriyaki, wimpy, nuclear, barbecue ranch, sweet and spicy, insane. How many possible combinations does that make? Carry the 2 with the remainder... a lot. Zaxby's chicken finger plate. The sauceabilities are endless.
From Tally to Cali,
It's time
to wake up.
Wake up! Wake up!
WarChant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
And this is Wake Up Warchant, presented by Zaxby's
Now here's WarChant.com's Aslan Hajavandi
and Corey Clark.
Wake up! What's up, everybody? It is Wake Up Warchant, proudly presented by Zaxby's Indescribably Good. You heard the ad at the beginning. The possibilities are endless with their delicious fried chicken fingers, hand-breaded, of course, salads, apps, all the sauces, all of it over at Zaxby's Indescribably Good. WarChant.com, your ultimate Seminole sports source. Promo code WarChant30. You're going to need it. Use it. Join the fam. Premium recruiting board is popping off, as the children say, with transfer news. We'll talk about that, I'm sure, at some point in this program. Let's bring Corey Clark in now. Corey Clark, Sr., lead writer for the website. What's going on, Corey?
It's Christmas week, buddy.
It is.
It's Christmas week. I'm excited. It's the year is almost over, Aslan. The season is officially over, and the year is almost over. And not to try to jinx it, but there's no way that 2021 can be worse. So let's enjoy the last, what do we got now? 10 days, 9 days left of this thing. Let's just get it over with.
I'm not co-signing to anything about it cannot be worse.
Well, that's true.
Be very difficult, one would surmise.
Right.
But this world and life has showed us this year.
I mean, there are meteors out there.
There are.
Just knocked on wood for that.
All right. So we thought we were going to wrap up the show for the week. Let's do kind of a recap of the season, the Wake Forest game. Wake Forest game, though, did not occur after I think another positive test, and with contact tracing, Florida State fell below the ACC threshold of healthy offensive linemen, scholarship offensive linemen, and on Friday afternoon around lunchtime, the plug was pulled on that game, and thus the season for Florida State. They will not be playing in a bowl. All the bids have gone out. Corey, I thought, wrote a very nice, balanced, well-reasoned, well-rounded perspective displayed in his column that kind of put a bow on this season to a certain degree. The autopsy will come, but I guess your message to Florida State fans was just in a year of lots of bleak and blighted moments, there were some players on this program, on this team and in this program that fought to the bitter end to a certain degree.
Yeah, I'd already made a deal with myself that if you follow me on Twitter, you might know that I know you do, Aslan. I'm speaking to the royal you. If you follow me on Twitter, you might know that sometimes during games I'm a little bit snarky, try to be sarcastic, throwing some jokes. But I wasn't going to do that on Saturday. Literally, like if somebody got burned for a 50-yard touchdown, or if Raymond Woody wanted to do another finger wag down by 4 scores, I wasn't going to criticize anyone because I'd made a deal with myself. Like, look, man, they're out there. They are out there. They're playing. They have been practicing since the middle of July. And they got to play 9 games. And it's not like they were playing for anything. You know what I mean? It's not like I can understand why Clemson and Notre Dame are all excited to practice and keep practicing. Florida State hadn't really been practicing for anything of note since they got housed at Miami. And so for them to still, the kids that were out there, the players that were out there, the young men that were out there, student athletes that were going to be out there, I just wanted to commend them for sticking it out. Because, man, as I said in the column, we had 40 of our top 40 most important players on the team. 18 of them didn't play in the Duke game. Including the top 3. And who knows, that number might have been 22, 23 for the Wake game with injuries and whatever else. So for them to just to practice for the last 6 weeks and only play 1 game. I know I'm not going to say I was disappointed to not have to drive up to Winston-Salem. I'm not going to sit here and say that. I was interested to see how they'd play. But when I saw that email come in at whenever that was, about, like you said, around lunchtime, right before I had to get on the road, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to hang out in Tallahassee for a few more days. I don't have to go to Winston-Salem. I can go cover that basketball team. No way they lose to Central Florida on Saturday night. So I'm not going to say I wasn't unhappy. I'm sure some of you guys were a little perturbed that the last game was canceled. You do want to see it. Florida State football, even when they're bad, I know is one of the distractions and one of the things you, if you're listening to this show, love the most in the world, or at least like a lot. So I get the frustration, but imagine how those players felt. They just practiced for 6 weeks straight. The ones that stuck it out, the ones that were on the team, the 50, the 48, whatever we want to call them. And then to be told again at the end of a week for the third time that they don't get to play a game. It's got to be wholly frustrating. But the fact that they were out there, don't you think that, look, there's a lot of holes, quite obviously, on this roster. But those guys that are coming back, and most of them are young guys, you know, they've sacrificed, those guys have sacrificed more than a Florida State football team has in years. And you could say that for most teams around the country. But those guys, the ones that are the core of your program, the ones that are coming back, the Jordan Travises, the Jashawn Corbins, Robert Scott, on and on and on, those people, Brownlee, they're coming back. And they showed that they care a lot about Florida State football. So I just thought that was something to be remembered for just a split second as we move on to 2021 and whether this team can ever be good again.
Yeah, that was my favorite part of your column. These current players practiced for the last 6 weeks and got to play a grand total of one game. And we're still obviously getting tested 3 times a week, probably limited their social sort of networks of going out, doing things, and continue to practice and lift weights and do all that stuff. And
most of them kept it out of their lives, right? Most of them kept COVID out of their lives. I don't want people to think that this was like half the team got it and that's why they couldn't play. It's the contact tracing like we've talked about. If one person gets it in the O-line group and they've been around other offensive linemen, well then, by letter of law, by the letter of the protocol. So my point there is they sacrificed a lot. And we can roll our eyes and say, yeah, they're getting their – I get it. Sacrifices are all relative. But they did – think about what I saw a great tweet on Twitter about Kentucky basketball and how, they're 1-5 right now. And the players on that Kentucky team are getting – they don't get any of the positives for being a Kentucky basketball player, like the crowd, the social interaction, maybe going to parties, being a big man on campus. They get hardly none of that, but they get all of the downside, social media, criticism. That's kind of what a player at a program like a Florida State or choose another Penn State. They don't get this year they haven't gotten to be big man on campus. They haven't gotten to live the life of a celebrated football player because it's been such a bizarre year, but they get all the downside of reading about how terrible they are. But they stuck it out. I mean, I guess that's my point. They stuck it out. They played hard in their last game. They did practice for 22 weeks. That's 5 months. They had a 5-month season. That's more than an NFL team practices if they make the playoffs. And they played 9 games. So just, I kind of, when I was thinking about that, was like, man, they did go through a lot, and they did try to give us a season. They did try to give us a season. These guys, the guys that were left, just remember them fondly, not because of the great plays, because they didn't make many, but just the fact that they were willing to do what they did for the last 6 weeks to try to save a season, and they were all ready to go and try to play Wake Forest in a game that probably would have been 50-44. Whoever punted lost, and then it was taken away from them again on Friday.
Those players, as you said, that practiced, a lot of them are young guys. They'll be back. Guys that won't be back include Marvin Wilson, who officially announced his intentions to declare for the 2021 NFL Draft. Best of luck to Marv, a 5-star standout from, I think, Episcopal High School out there in Houston. What could have been? What could have been, big guy? Very nice, heartfelt tweet I think he sent out. And then Hamsah Nasruddin, who I guess there's a little bit more uncertainty around him. I think we all assumed as much. I think even – did Norvell say that he was going to go to the draft when he announced the whole shakeup like a month and a half ago, like when Marvin and this player was coming back and that player was coming. Did they say that? Did he say like Marvin was pretty much shutting it down to focus on the draft?
Who, Marvin or Hamsah?
Marvin.
I don't know if he actually said the words draft, but I think we all knew that what the deal was there. And he graduated, right? He came back to graduate. He did graduate, or he is on pay. I don't know if they've had their graduation at Florida State yet. But yeah, just congrats to him for coming back. It did not go how any of us envisioned, including him. And it started with that mess in June. But to come back, to announce his comeback in December, he was okay when he played. I don't think he was healthy. But I do think moving forward, I think Marvin Wilson is somebody you're going to be proud of as an ambassador for Florida State University.
Yeah. But then on Sunday, if there was any uncertainty around the future of Hamsah Nasruddin, he confirmed that he too would be looking ahead to his future as a NFL football player, hopefully.
So he's officially accepting that Senior Bowl invite?
I think so. Watch out, Mobile. Here he comes.
All right. That mystery solved.
That was great exchange. Like poor Ira having not to belabor the point, just to follow up. So does it mean you're going or you just?
Yeah.
I just want to be polite. I don't want to turn it down. But Hamsah, who played in 2 games for you this season, which crazy enough, apparently he was ACC Defensive Back of the Week after the Duke game.
Yeah.
He would have obviously been a big help to return, but I wouldn't expect him to return. They did their tenure, man. They ran their stint out here, so I have no ill will or animus to them. I don't think most people do either. I think maybe a little bit more to Marvin than Ham. It seems it's been pretty universally accepted and appreciated what Ham did, and best of luck.
Well, the fact that he came back, right, that he rehabbed as hard as, because we weren't getting told anything by Norvell. Not that it's his job to tell us, but when you keep getting told that we love the way he's progressing, we're excited about the progress, and then every week he's in sweatpants, people start to think, okay, this guy's never coming back. He doesn't want to quit the team, so he's just. But no, this guy actually, he was rehabbing and he was trying to be a good teammate and he was taking notes in the film room and in the position rooms. For him to work that hard to come back says a lot about him. And it's a bummer he didn't get that one last game, but he certainly gave him a good half of film against Duke. So hopefully that'll get him drafted in the first couple of days of the draft.
I would think second day, hopefully. I don't know if he'll be a first rounder. I mean, when that started getting floated out in the preseason, I was like, "There's no way." I mean,
I can't imagine. And I like Hamsah, and I like his game, and I like his potential. But I mean, you can't. I can't imagine you can give us what he play the equivalent of one half of, or probably one full game in the last 13 months.
Even going into the season, I mean, that was the thing. Preseason, it was the buzz, he's coming off an injury, but if he's good, he should. If he's healthy, he could be a potential first round pick. And I mean, if everything would have come up aces for this team, maybe. But, obviously nothing came up aces.
No, it all came up 2s and 3s. But they did. But, he is going to test off the charts at the combine. I mean, he's going to jump 40-something inches. He's going to run fast. He's got the measurables. And it's not like his film is horrid. He's a physical dude. Yeah. That's why I think he could be a second or third rounder. I'd be surprised if he's a first rounder, but what do I know? He might. Hey, for all I know, he'll be the 9th pick in the draft. The Jags might draft him number 1 overall.
Are they ahead of the Jets now that they beat the Rams?
Yep. How about that? So Trevor Lawrence watch is now officially on in Jacksonville.
There you go.
Leave it to the Jets to win that game.
Will he be the Heisman winner? Will he be the reigning Heisman Trophy winner, first overall pick? Trevor Lawrence?
I would be surprised. I'm not going to say I did vote for the Heisman on Sunday. I'm not going to say if and where Trevor Lawrence was on my ballot, but I would be surprised just because he missed 2 games. But let's just say this. I'm not going to tell you who I voted for because I'm not allowed. It's a big secret.
Don't do
it. There's only 1,100 voters. But I had a very difficult time putting any other. If I was going to rank Trevor Lawrence, I would have a very difficult time putting another quarterback ahead of him. Yeah. Because he's quite obviously the best quarterback in the country.
There was a thread on the Tribal Council with WarChant.com. Use promo code WarChant30. Thumbs up, by the way, if you're listening to us on YouTube. 5-star reviews on iTunes. With some people concerned that Kyle Trask could possibly still win the Heisman, even after he lost. He looked pretty decent in the loss, but
no, he's
no
good,
way,
man.
right? Like he's not going to win the Heisman.
No, you can't. How? Like, what would be the argument for him over any of the Alabama guys or Trevor Lawrence? I mean, they lost 3 times. Now it's not his fault. His teammate threw a shoe, and I was going to say, I was kind of half rooting for Florida to lose that game, to win that game.
Whoa.
Just so, because they couldn't get it. There's no way they could have gotten into the playoff. Alabama wasn't going to be out, and they couldn't leapfrog Texas A&M because they had one more loss and they lost to Texas A&M. So worst case scenario is A&M gets in somehow because their win over Florida even looks better. But there was really no risk to them getting in the playoff. But for the rest of eternity, Florida would have been asking themselves, would we have won the national championship if that kid hadn't thrown the shoe? Because if they hadn't lost LSU and then they beat Alabama, well then, yeah, they're in the playoff, obviously. Yeah. I was kind of hoping they would come back and pull that just for the – I mean, it would have been a great win for them. You never want them to win conference championships. I get it. It's been a while. I think it's been 12 years maybe since they've won an SEC title.
Sounds right.
But yeah, I thought it would have been awesome if they missed out on the playoffs because of a shoe.
How do they keep going though? Like McElwain took them to Atlanta twice.
It's a down year, man. The SEC, you had the Richt. Yeah, Rick was still there. Tennessee was what it is now, awful. That was great, by the way. That all of a sudden, like I get that A&M has one loss, but the notion that their win over Tennessee was impressive enough to leapfrog someone with the same record just didn't make sense to me. But then again, what makes sense in college football anymore? What makes sense with that committee? It is a joke and a fraud and always has been.
We'll get to that here in a little bit towards the end of the program.
Didn't mean to
it's
jump
fine.
ahead.
I want to talk about it too, but just figured we'll keep it Florida State centric. Transfer market is what everyone's got their eyes on. And on Sunday, they picked up a name, a guy from American Heritage High School out of Fort Lauderdale who was at Arkansas most recently, Jarquez McClellan. I can never do good with the Irish Mech, I'm just terrible with it. Jarquez, though, cornerback, again, out of Arkansas, redshirted in 17 and started 18 and 19, most of the season in 18 and 19. And then he opted out before this season started, which is a fun little sort of mental gymnastic that Florida State fans have to do that call their players quitters when they opt out before the season started. But anyhow.
Yeah, but they quit on Florida State. Florida State fans don't care if you quit on Arkansas.
That's true. There you go.
They're all for it.
Man, you're the best public attorney
right.
for Florida State fans. It's amazing. So that's pretty encouraging. I guess you need healthy bodies at the cornerback position. The kid's a Florida product. Said that Florida State was one of his dream schools growing up. Sounds like Norvell pretty much offered him kind of on the spot, hammering down, drilling down to the numbers, Pro Football Focus, not the end-all, be-all. But when we spoke to my guy, I forgot his first name, but Mr. Rollins, who does the PFF stuff, a lot of it, you might remember that 60 is kind of is your average score, kind of where everybody starts. And then you either gain points or lose points from your 60. So with that said, Jarquez, as a redshirt freshman in 18, graded out at 59.8. His coverage skills were 58.8. And then in 2019, he graded out at 59.7 overall defensively, but did bump up to 62.4 in his coverage ability. So
okay.
You're getting, I guess, just a serviceable person. I mean, not any kind of, I don't think he's going to shake up the culture of what you're trying to do, but maybe he's a guy that's going to come in and work hard. Maybe that's not what he does do. It maybe does change your culture. But it seems to be an average football player. Analytically.
And there's a reason to have, guys for depth purposes, and he might be better than we think. I am curious if you can look it up. I know I'm putting you on the spot, but he also had to go against Alabama and LSU receivers for 2 years. That's not fun. I wonder if that really
the Alabama
crushed his grade.
Yeah, Alabama he actually did okay-ish. He did 60 against LSU last year.
Okay.
His coverage skills were 64.6.
All right. Hey, man, against that group, 3 first-rounders and that quarterback? Yeah. Come on now. Come on. What it says to me, Aslan, is he raises his level depending on the competition.
That's fair. That's a fair assumption. But then if you were to look at his Alabama grade, you would probably think otherwise. He actually was then benched after that Alabama game and then came into the Mississippi State game the following week halfway through and actually had a pretty strong performance. The two highest graded performances of his season last year were against FCS Portland and Group of 5 Western Kentucky.
Hey man, come on! Don't look. It's
I love doing it.
depth.
I'm sorry. I got to see a
depth.
therapist. I got to
look, and you do, and also, but look, who can cover Waddle and Ruggs and those guys?
Judy.
Come on, nobody. That's ridiculous.
Devontae Smith.
NFL secondaries can't do that. Give the guy a break. But I will say, back to good news, just because I was curious. I know it's 3 years ago, so it's not really relative. By the time he'll play, it'll be 4 years. But I went back and looked up Mackenzie Milton's overall PFF grade from 2017.
Oh, okay.
And he was the number 3 quarterback in the country, offensive grade-wise. Baker Mayfield was 1, Will Grier was 2nd, and then Mackenzie Milton, and then Justin Herbert was 4th.
Okay.
So he was ahead of him. So that's pretty good, right?
If
you're feeling bad about that,
NFL
just go to
franchise
PFF. That's he's ahead of Mason Rudolph, the great Mason Rudolph, Lamar Jackson, Trace McSorley, ahead of all these guys, ahead of DeAndre Francois even.
Oh, Mackenzie's the swing vote in that. She's got 4 guys in the top 4 there. 2 of them first-round franchise quarterbacks in the NFL. The other guy, not. So what are you going to do, Mackenzie?
Yeah.
Not? Right. You're going to be a first-round pick.
Well, he's 5'11", so I don't think he's going to be a first-round
pick. So's Drew
pick.
Brees. So's Russell Wilson. Yeah. You got to go. I got my rebuttals. Like when I used to work in telemarketing, like, no, I'm not interested. I would flip to my rebuttals. Right. So like the Florida State fans on the
No, wait, you are interested. No, wait, you do want this, right?
Yeah.
Did I mishear you?
Yeah. 5'11". Oh, you're going to go to height? Okay, let me flip to the page of height. Let me cite other NFL guys.
Oh, that's right. There's 2 guys ever that have been great at that height. Yeah. All right, that's awesome. I mean, in the NFL.
Yeah. And then right now, when we talked to Michael Langston on the program, I think last week, Michael mentioned from what he had heard, now this is all fluid, I think to his understanding, if Florida State was going to add any more wide receivers, it was going to either be high school or junior college transfers. And they did add in a high school player, Malik McLean, who was committed for a long while, backed off his pledge, sounded like he might go to Ole Miss, did eventually on Friday commit to Florida State.
Yeah.
If you look at his film, his junior year, and you look at his senior year film, very nice sort of progression, I think. And he was playing at IMG, so he's going against pretty good talent, maybe even better talent probably than what he was playing against that when he was in Alabama. So they got a receiver Friday out of high school, Malik McLean, 4 stars, so that's good.
Yeah.
But Michael was saying it'd either be high school or JUCO guys. But there's 2 names out there right now. Myron Mitchell's a receiver out of UAB who put his name into the portal. And if you into that kind of stuff, retweeted a Florida State fan that gave him a gif of Osceola and Renegade planting the spear. He hasn't done that for any other team if you want to look into that stuff. Caught 29 passes for 436 yards and 3 touchdowns this season. For the Conference USA champions. They went up to Huntington, West Virginia, or wherever they played that game against Marshall, I think with 42 scholarship players, won the championship. So shout out to him. And then Andrew Parchment out of Kansas, who was a preseason Big 12 nod, caught 24 passes for 197 and 2 touchdowns. These are 2 players that apparently have buzz around their names when it comes to Florida State. If you want to look at the grade-wise on Pro Football Focus.
You said he's from Kansas?
He's from Florida, I think, but he plays at Kansas. Andrew Parchment.
Okay.
Yeah, he went to Cypress Bay High School. Shout out to my guy, Noah Mendel. He went to Cypress Bay High School. Big high school, Fort Lauderdale. 6'2", 175, Andrew Parchment out of Kansas. And then Myron Mitchell is 6'1", 180. Mitchell from UAB graded out this year, 69.5 offensively. That would make him the highest graded receiver at Florida State this past year. Terry was your highest graded receiver at 65.4. Pokey 61. number 2. So
I did look him up too, just when I saw that, because sometimes the transfer portal Twitter will say what the stats are, and sometimes it won't. And I'm like, well, UAB in the market. Let me go, and they didn't have it there, so they did, and I think his numbers were pretty good. I can't remember, but for whatever reason, I went and looked up his numbers, and he, I think the last 2 years combined, he's had I want to say like 80 catches for over 1,000 yards, or right at 1,000 yards. But
who are we talking about? The kid from UAB?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he also, against Miami this year, had over 100 yards receiving in that game, which I don't know if you guys remember the Florida State-Miami game, but nobody on Florida State's team had 100 yards receiving. So that's something.
Yeah, no, for sure. And then Parchment out of Kansas, graded out at 54.6 offensively, 54.4 in his pass catching. But hey, he had a really good 2019, graded out 68.3. But he's 6'2", 175, another body. I think you might not be able to be as. I just felt like we at least had this thing rolling on defensive backs. Felt like we'd always be good at defensive backs, and we'd be able to be pretty picky. I think though, offensively, man, if you have Jordan Travis healthy, or you have Mackenzie Milton operating well in this offense, with I think is going to be a pretty good offensive line. I said it. Pretty good offensive line. Put that in your time capsule, everybody. They'll operate well enough that these guys will find ways to get open. I don't know if you need to be obviously this is not Alabama 2019, LSU 2019 receiving core. I don't know if you need that with what the way that Mike Norvell schemes his offense up. He's had guys catch 1,000 yards in Memphis. Some have gone to the NFL, some have not. And I don't know just how dynamic really those guys were. It just seems like they'll find ways to dial things up where you have, Preston Daniel running wide open down the seam against, number 5 UNC. They do the kind of things where if you can just do your job, you'll be productive in this offense. You don't necessarily need to be, super duper star, as you would say.
Yeah, I mean, it would be nice to have some elite talent too.
Wouldn't hurt.
Wouldn't hurt. But I do think, man, I am all aboard the Jordan Travis as a quarterback train. I am certainly not saying that he's not going to be the quarterback, even as I read off Mackenzie Milton's Pro Football Focus grades. But he is also a guy that he has to be on the field in some capacity. So he's also a guy. I'm not saying he should switch to receiver, but he could play receiver some of the time. So could Travis J. You have guys that could. You have to have guys that make people miss, man. Like those throws out wide. What did they do? What did they do the whole season? Did they do anything? Do you remember one play on a throw out wide where you got, what I'm talking about, just catch it and throw it, where a guy made a great play and turned a 2-yard gain into a 25-yard gain? I'm sure it happened. I just don't remember it. But
not a lot of success in the horizontal pass game. Yeah,
no. And I know we don't like that much anyway, because all you're doing is begging for a holding call on a receiver. But if that's going to be a part of your offense, get somebody out wide. You still need guys that can run the traditional route tree. You still need guys that can get open down the field and make plays down the field. But you also need some playmakers that can make plays near the line of scrimmage and turn a 3-yard gain into a 24-yard gain, or even a first down. And I don't know if I've never watched these two kids play. Obviously, I haven't watched UAB and Kansas play for a while. I don't know if these two guys have that in them. I do know that Jordan Travis has it in him, and I'm pretty sure Travis J would too. I just think, again, I'm not saying they should switch positions, and I'm all in on Jordan Travis as a quarterback. But I would rather, if he's going to be the second-string quarterback for a game, for a series, for a week, whatever, I would like him to be getting some reps out wide, making people miss in space, because he does that better than anybody on the team.
Point taken, and you're not wrong. I just wonder if it's different operating with the ball in your hand, with some space, taking the snap and the shotgun and analyzing and being able to see things, as opposed to like running a route, or I guess even turning around, catching the ball, and trying to get upfield. I just don't know how much of that sort of value you have of him as a runner quarterback would translate to him being out wide. But, I mean, he's somebody that has to be accounted for, though. So
yeah. Yeah, you could have some wrinkles on it. I mean, they did that against Miami. I think he caught a pass in that game, and then the next time they tried it was the reverse nonsense where he threw the pick, where he was lined up out wide. It just gives you some options, but either way, as we've talked about, the wide receivers have to get demonstrably better, much better. Not to like you said, they can scheme it up enough. But even when you watch those Memphis games, they also had some dudes that just went and made plays. The kid that was the Gibson kid, and the other kid that caught a bunch of balls for them when they won the conference championship. I can't remember his name right now, but he had a big year. Those guys just went and made plays. And they don't have, as far as we know right now, they still don't have that guy on their roster. So hopefully one of these guys is it. Maybe it's hard to count on a transfer or a freshman to make that play. Let me say this, a Kansas UAB type transfer. If the booty kid from LSU wants to come,
woo!
Holy moly, that kid, you'll take him.
Yes.
And he can do whatever he wants.
Yeah.
He doesn't have to live in the state of Florida. He can stay in Baton Rouge. You'll fly him in for games. Whatever you have to do, whatever. But, if it's one of these guys, I don't know that you're counting on them to be like a difference maker as much as just another body in your offense. But there might still be a couple out there. Who knows? But I just think Jordan Travis and Travis Jay are elite enough athletes that they probably need the ball in their hands some, because I don't know who else. We don't have any proof that any of these other receivers are that.
Oh, also, Cam McDonald announced he was coming back. Forgot to throw that in there. So I'm looking at Memphis last year. Kenneth Gainwell, 51 receptions. Antonio Gibson, who's in the NFL, I think with the Washington football team.
Yep.
38 receptions. Kadarian Jones, 39 receptions. Joey Magnifico, 20 receptions. And then DeMonte Coxey, 76 catches. For one.
Look up
can
you look up the 17 season?
Certainly. I can do that.
I wanted to say his last name was Smith, but I could be wrong.
I was really worried about Cam McDonald, by the way, too. Anthony Miller, 96 for 1462.
Yeah.
Good Lord. And 18 tutties.
Yeah. Yeah, man. That's when you see that, you're like, man, I'm pretty sure Tamarian Terry is more talented than that guy. Yeah. And they had a dude catch 90 passes and 18 touchdowns. Tamarian Terry is going to be incredible, and it did not happen. But it did not happen. Yeah, that was big. I know I'm not going to say anything snarky. But, yes, Cam McDonald is coming back. He is a guy that I think he's a solid player. He hasn't proven to be anything special yet, but there is a chance. Now, I'm not giving the job to Mackenzie Milton, but if Mackenzie Milton wins the job and plays like he did at Central Florida, all of a sudden all these receivers are going to look better, because the ball will be getting there quicker on time when they're coming out of their breaks. Maybe they make somebody miss in the open field. I'm not saying Jordan Travis didn't do that well. I just think Mackenzie Milton does that at an elite level. Did you not hear the names that I was mentioning from 17? And then in 18, he was top 20 in the country, or top 15 in the country too, for quarterbacks. He does it he's proven to be able to do it at an elite level. Jordan Travis throwing the ball has not proven to do that at an elite level. And if you get an elite, all of a sudden you're Kenny Shaw. Kenny Shaw was an okay player. I don't think he was a fan favorite necessarally. The thing that most people remembered him for.
Kenny Raw, man. Come on, Kenny Shaw Raw.
But the most people remembered him for is keeping it 300, tweeting.
Yeah.
And then getting knocked out against Oklahoma. Everybody remembered that. All of a sudden in 2013.
And getting murdered in Gainesville, but being Lazarus and getting right back up and,
Well, no, but that's what I'm saying. That was 2013.
Yeah.
His first 3 years on campus, he was an okay player, but he wasn't really like a fan favorite. And then you got a quarterback that saw everything and got it out on time and hit him coming out of breaks. And all of a sudden, he goes down as one of the, everybody remembers him. He almost had 1,000 yards receiving. I think he finished like 992 or something. But he became a much better player. It's crazy how that works. He went from not an afterthought, but not anybody you thought was extra special. In fact, he was behind Greg Dent on the depth chart going into that season. But then Kenny Shaw has this monster breakout year, and that had a lot to do with the quarterback that was thrown to him. So maybe you can see a jump like that from these guys. I always call it the Roddy White effect.
Yeah.
And I was a big fan of Michael Vick when he was the quarterback for the Falcons. His first few years
on the field.
On the field, sure. And off the field, he had a great dogfighting ring. One of the best stables in Virginia. That's a joke. I don't even think it was Virginia, right? Wasn't it South
Carolina?
Carolina?
No, just go. Come on. 933 yards Kenny had in 2013, by the way.
Yeah, so if he'd had a big game against Auburn, he had a chance to get to 1,000, just like they would have had 3 1,000-yard receivers. But Roddy White, Atlanta Falcons fans could not – they just thought he was a bust. They thought he wasn't any good. He wouldn't catch many balls. They needed to give Michael Vick some receivers to work with. And Michael Vick had plenty of success as a quarterback in the NFL, but he wasn't a great thrower of the football right away. All of a sudden, Matt Ryan comes in, and Roddy White becomes a perennial All-Pro or a perennial Pro Bowler because he had a guy that was throwing to him more, you know what I mean, that saw it quicker. So, maybe there's a chance that happens with Mackenzie Milton, or maybe Jordan Travis is the quarterback. But there is a chance that these receivers will take a step up because the quarterback, no matter what, the quarterback play is going to be substantially better. If Jordan Travis beats out this kid, he will have done it for a reason, and he will become almost an elite quarterback, certainly a very good quarterback. And if that happens, all the receivers are going to look better.
Anthony Miller was 5'11", 190 pounds, came out of Christian Brothers High School in Memphis, was literally a no-star.
Yeah.
And then went on to catch, 96 balls for 1,462 yards and 18 scores. I think if you're like a college football atheist, like you don't have a favorite team, you just love the sport, which like I'm an NFL atheist. Like I really don't have a favorite NFL team. I just like watching the NFL. Like I like certain players. I like certain coaches. This is going to be interesting to watch in Tallahassee just because defensively I still have I don't know what we're doing. I still don't know what we're doing. Jarquez, welcome, I guess. No clue what we're trying to do on defense right now.
Right, sure.
But offensively, I'll give Mike Norvell the benefit of the doubt on this. He is accumulating players that are otherwise, they're under-recruited guys. I guess to a certain degree, kind of the stuff that Willie did. But I think Willie was almost he was forced into that because he was swinging for the fences when he first got here, and then when he started losing and people didn't want to come here, he kind of scrambled to figure it out.
By the way, did you watch the Pac-12 championship game?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That Thibodeau kid, holy moly.
Yeah, man.
Willie, why couldn't you land him? He'd have been a difference maker. Oh, well. Anyway, go ahead.
Because he came to Tallahassee, and he watched the Virginia Tech game. He was there. Live in the flesh.
That was a bummer.
But, like, he's going to, to a certain degree, like, what he did at Memphis, he's trying to do at Florida State. And for better or worse, I mean, I think he's going to dance with the one who brung him. He's going to trust his judgment. He's going to trust his evaluation. He's going to trust what is part of his fit and family mantra. And he's going to go after guys that maybe don't look all that sexy on paper, maybe don't go to the camps and have the ratings and the stars next to their name. And listen, we saw what Alabama did on Saturday night, and we saw what every team did on Saturday. Oklahoma's quarterback, 5-star guy. I mean, all these guys that are winning are surrounded by really highly recruited, highly touted players. But maybe, not a lot of teams can pull it off. 1 or 2 teams might be able to pull it off. But maybe Mike Norvell has the right eye and has the right combination of bringing in players. Mackenzie Milton is maybe that difference maker at quarterback. And then you bring in some of these wide receivers that you just think have the right mindset, there's certain routes they can run. They know how to find, soft spots and zones and sit in them and know how to make tough catches. And you can actually make something out of all this. So it's going to be interesting to watch, man. It really is.
Again, and I just think I keep going back to it, but I think if you take that 2019 Memphis team and put them in the ACC, they probably finished second. Florida State, I know they would have gotten housed by Clemson, but who wouldn't? Because they couldn't have stopped Clemson. But other than that, they probably finished second in the ACC. And you probably go 9-2 with that schedule. You probably lose at Florida, and you obviously lose at Clemson. You probably run the table in all the other games with that 2019 Memphis team. So he can build look, you have better players than you have better, let me put it this way, you have more stars. If you added up all the cumulative stars on Florida State's roster, even right now, it's probably twice as much as Memphis. You know what I mean? Like I don't know where Memphis finished in recruiting in 2018 and 2017, but it wasn't where Florida State finished. So he's proven he can win. He can produce. Let me put it this way: he can produce a good team, a top-tier ACC caliber team.
Offense,
with
still is, for sure.
Well, even still, they won the games.
Yeah.
So with 2-star recruits, so now 3.5-star recruits. The difference is obviously the competition is much fiercer. You're not getting to play Tulsa. I shouldn't take a shot at Tulsa.
Yeah,
You know,
Tulsa's
ranked.
Yeah, but I mean, to your point though, if 2019 Memphis would have ran through the ACC, then like what is the ACC right now?
Well, no, I'm saying that Memphis team was good.
I know, but that's the thing. Like, so you can use his recipe at Florida State and get these 2-star guys and probably beat Wake.
So I looked it up.
Louisville.
So Florida State finished, I guess there's still maybe some out there, but right now they're 28th with that jump. They made a big leap. They went up like 10 spots just for one kid signing, which kind of shows you the validity of team rankings outside of like the top 3. Like if you can if you can jump 10 spots because of one kid, a 4-star, should one kid have that big of an impact? But either way, so they're 28th right now. But if you look at I think they're behind 5 or 6 ACC teams. They're like 6th. They're behind Pitt. They're behind Louisville. I think they're behind Virginia. But then if you do the star rankings, they're 3rd. The average stars, they're 3rd. They're behind Clemson, obviously. They're behind North Carolina. Florida State is 3rd.
In the ACC.
In the ACC. And I think they're like 25th overall. So you're still recruiting well enough, even in this down year, even in a pandemic. You're still recruiting well enough. You're still getting better players per capita than everybody in the league, except for Clemson and North Carolina. According to the recruiting guys, you're still getting as good or better than everybody in the league except Clemson. There's not much difference between North Carolina and Florida State when you look at the star rankings or average stars. So, again, if he's good at his job, if he's good at building a culture and game planning, designing an offense, hiring the right people, this team will be talented enough to win 8 or 9 games moving forward. The question I have, that I think all of us have, is this a recipe to be the best team in the ACC and playing in a playoff? Is this a recipe to, on Sunday, having to watch that 4-hour ridiculous show because you actually care if your team made it or not, the day after the championship games? Because that hasn't happened in 6 years. I don't know that. But I do think he can get you to a point where you're winning 7 or 8 games and you're competing for second and third.
Please. That hurts.
Hey, that's where you went 3-6 this year. 6-3. Flip that. Go 6-3.
How many coaches out there do you think the Florida State went after when they got Mike Norvell could have made this team win 7 or 8 games by year 3?
Oh, by year 3? I don't know. I don't know
that.
I
know where you're going with that.
It's easier said. It's easier said than done. But yeah, there's probably a few. Yeah. But again, he's proven he can do it. He can put together a top 15-ish team.
Yeah.
What I want to see is, can he? Number one, they have to be better next year. They're not going to be great. We all understand that they have to be better. And then what's that recruiting going to look like? When we start getting these reports, again, they can't even go visit these kids, though. So they can't even get them on campus either. But when the summer rolls around, just stick with us for 6 months, folks. But when the summer rolls around and we're all vaccinated and kids can go visit camps again and go to campuses, what kind of names are coming to Florida State? Who are they in on? I do want to see that. I don't want half the roster. I don't want half the recruiting class to be from out of state. It needs to be 75% from the state of Florida. You've got to hammer this state. And right now that's not going great, but we all understand the reasons why. Well, at least he has reasons why, because they didn't get to develop any relationships. They didn't get to host anybody on campus.
I love how I lob you these like alley-oops, like I'm talking about. It's crazy, man. Like you're going to be able to watch from a distance Mike Norvell kind of piece together these recruiting classes with players that you aren't familiar with, that you think might not fit the mold, and then actually make them be successful. And then like you grab it and you do like a Dominique windmill, and then you go between your legs, and then you spin around. And then when you go through the cylinder, you just like hit all iron and it bounces away, and you just basically shoot my stuff all the way. Like, you need to kill it in Florida. I still think he's going to do that. I don't think that's part of his plan either. I think he's going to go find players in Arkansas. He's going to find players in Texas. He's going to find players in South Carolina.
Don't you think that's what he's relegated to do right now? But if he gets this thing rolling, and I don't mean rolling as like Clemson right now,
right.
But if he can win 6 or 7 games next year and be competitive and show real improvement and get better and actually have a defense, don't you think I can't imagine if the head coach of Florida State does. The reason it's an appealing job is the state it's in. So what sense would it make to then not recruit the state harder than anything you've ever done in your life? Like, you've got to.
Family and fit.
Your job depends on it.
Family and fit. He needs to find guys that fit. Got dogs.
Well,
guys
he needs to find guys that fit, that live within, that can drive to campus.
I'm not saying you're wrong. I just don't. I think he has like his recipe. He has his checklist, and I think he's not going to turn kids down from Florida. He's not going to turn down a Jerry Jeudy. But man, if he's
that's good.
He's not going to. I don't think he's going to sell out for DJ Matthews.
Well,
so
yeah. Indiana's own
Indiana's
DJ Matthews. He was one of the top 40.
He was.
Yep, he's in Indiana now.
2 quick things, and then we're done for today and probably the week, unless there's other big shattering news, which hopefully there won't be, and a recruit signing doesn't count as one, so get off my back, everybody. I'll give you about like 5 minutes or so if you want to explore the space, talk about the playoff. My heart aches for Jimbo. My heart aches for Aggie Nation.
I know it does.
I just don't understand if Notre Dame's whole redeeming thing was they had the best win of the regular season in beating Clemson. But then when Clemson is fully staffed and on a neutral field, absolutely dismantles you. And then 24 hours later, you're still in it. Meanwhile, A&M just kind of, won games, not going away, and they got dismantled by Alabama at Alabama. And I know it's a pandemic year, but still you had to travel. You're not in your bed. You're not in your own locker room.
Sure,
There's a little bit of
sure.
difference in there.
Yep.
It's incredible. I almost find myself going back and forth between which I've never had the Notre Dame hate, but after Sunday, just what a joke. I can't believe Notre Dame made it. Cincinnati, you want to be the sacrificial lamb, whatever. What's the line going to be? 20.5? Alabama's going to dismantle Notre Dame.
I think it was 19.5.
Joke.
Well, look, what would it have been for A&M? 17. They already beat them by 20. They already beat them by 28, and they were up by 35 in that game. Like, that game wasn't competitive either. Cincinnati wouldn't be competitive. But my bigger problem, honestly, is Ohio State.
Yeah, well, here's the thing, real quickly. I don't like the seeding. I don't want to see Clemson and Notre Dame play each other again, but they should have played each other again. And then it should have been Alabama and Ohio State. Ohio State should have been 4, and then put 2, 3. Because if Notre Dame beating Clemson is such a big deal, they shouldn't have dropped all the way to 4 with that one loss, being to Clemson, right?
Sure.
It's a wash. Why did they drop all the way down from 4 to 2? That's my concern. But anyhow,
yeah. So, but look, I didn't really have a problem if A&M got in over Ohio State. I would have had a problem if they got in over Notre Dame because they both had bad losses to really good teams. Texas A&M didn't beat anyone that was any good. They beat Florida. They beat Florida by a field goal, and they got crushed by Alabama. Every other team on their schedule, their combined winning percentage was 40%. And, they didn't beat anybody. I don't know if they beat another winning team.
It's the SEC, Paul. They're beating up on each other every week.
And I love Jimbo saying no one-loss SEC team has ever not gotten in the playoff. And it's like, you know what, Jimbo? No 8-win SEC team has ever gotten in the playoff either. No undefeated Ohio State team has never. No one-loss Indiana team has never gotten in the playoff. Like, it's a crazy year, dude. Like, it's just, sorry, man, but it's just a crazy year.
He doesn't want it. He didn't want the smoke. I don't think that. What
was he going to do? Was he going to beat Alabama and then Clemson? Yeah. Come on, man. That wasn't happening. That team's good. It's not that good. So they get to cry foul, but at the same time probably celebrate a 9-1 season because they're going to beat North Carolina probably in the bowl game, although that should be a good one. But my bigger problem is Ohio State, man. And not just because they only played 6 games, because some of that wasn't their fault. They did get some games canceled. But the Big Ten is the one that tried to cancel the whole season. The Big Ten is the conference that tried to torpedo everything back in August and say, nope, we're not going to play. We're going to announce that we're not going to play, and then watch all these cowards fall step in line with us, and then they're going to call off their seasons too in a week. In a day. Maybe later today, they're going to call off all their seasons too. Didn't even talk to the other commissioners, just went on their own and said, we're canceling our season. The ACC and SEC threw middle fingers up at them and said, sorry, we're going to go along with it. Then all of a sudden, the Big Ten sees, oh man, they're actually playing a season, and they're going to have a season. And we have all these kids that want to go transfer.
Big 12
and all these
too.
coaches that are upset.
Don't
and
forget
fans.
about Big 12.
I'm sorry, and the Big 12 too threw up the Big 12 was a big one that threw up their middle fingers too. And then so 3 weeks in, they're like, you know what? We're going to play 2. Sorry, our bad. There's new information that's come out. No, there isn't. No, there isn't. You just thought that everybody was going to fall in line with what you wanted to do, and they were going to cancel it, and that would be that. But no, they kept playing. Those players made sacrifices. Those coaches made sacrifices. They kept playing. You didn't. What you can say whether those sacrifices were smart or not. I'm not here to argue that. But they did. They kept playing. Florida State's been practicing since July. Ohio State comes traipsing in the middle of September to start, or October, to start playing their games. They get to play 6 games because that's what they did. They did that to themselves. And I hate that the conference that tried to end the season, just call it off, gets a team in the championship game with only 6 games played. The reason they only had 6 games played is because they tried to call it off back in August or July, whenever that was. And the rest of the conference said, all right, man, go on your own. We're going to do it ourselves. Oh, wait, you're going to have a party without us? I guess we'll show up. And now they get to play in a championship game, although they only played 6 games. That to me, that's why I don't know if I would have preferred A&M, but I would have preferred Cincinnati over Ohio State. I probably would have preferred A&M over Ohio State because I don't think one team plays 11 games, another team plays 6, and they get to be in the championship. And don't even get me started on what they do with these group of 5 schools. Like, what's even the point? Just quit even acting like they're a part of the conversation because they're not. And whether you think they should be or shouldn't, if there was ever a year where a team like Cincinnati would get respect and actually get a chance to get thumped by Alabama, it would have been this year. But no, you go, like you said, you go to Notre Dame. Ohio State with 6 games gets to play for 6 games, by the way. 2 of them, they won 1 by 7, and they won another one by 12, and they were in a tight game in the fourth quarter against Northwestern. They struggled to beat Indiana and Northwestern. I'm not impugning those 2 programs, but they struggled to beat those 2 programs, and that 6-0 was good enough, only 6 games to get in the college football playoff. When these other players and teams have been sacrificing since July.
And that's why they should have had to face Alabama and been just.
I agree. And just let Notre Dame lose to Clemson again, and then you have Clemson. I mean, it's going to be Clemson, Alabama again, probably. I mean, Ohio State can probably play with Clemson, sure. I do not think that Notre Dame can play with Alabama. What does it matter?
Cole,
it's just the monster. It's monster Alabama against monster Clemson and everybody else.
Yeah. Cole Kublik pointed this out from the SEC Network. Ohio State literally has not played back-to-back Saturdays of the entire year.
That's what I'm saying. It's a joke.
It's crazy.
It's just a joke. And the committee's been a joke since 2014. It's just been a joke. Like I tweeted it. All of a sudden, nobody would have ever thought, ever, to punish people for winning games. Throughout the history of college football, you never got punished for winning football games. You could watch all these. I remember, man, I was living and dying on Saturday watching these teams ranked ahead of one-loss Florida State that you knew was better. You knew they were better than that team, but they kept finding a way to luck out a game at the end, and Florida State would be left at number 3 in the country going in the bowls because the 2 teams in front of them that didn't play a tough schedule or as tough managed to win their games by a hair. But they obviously clearly weren't better than Florida State, but it never mattered. You did not get punished for winning games. And then in 2014, that flipped. All of a sudden, the eye test. It wasn't the 4 best teams, or it wasn't the 4 most deserving teams. It was the 4 best teams, whatever that means. Well, if you're just doing best teams, because that's the way they judge, right? They say we don't go with the deserving.
That's their charge. Yeah, that's their charge.
It's the best. Well, okay, man. Then it's always going to be the teams with the most NFL prospects. At some point, it does have to be about winning games. And so that started in 2014, and ever since then it's been a travesty. This was the biggest mockery of them all, but it's fine. It's not a real football season anyway. It'll be Alabama and Clemson, just like it would have been, if there was no pandemic at all.
All that said, though, there's people that still run the BCS simulations, and literally all 7 years now, the BCS simulation has spit out the 4 teams that the committee has chosen. Now, have they seeded them the right way or not? I don't know. My only soapbox, if I may, is that it's just interesting to me. It's curious that it's Ohio State's reputation that's carried them into the playoff.
What if Indiana had won that game over Ohio State?
Oh, yeah, they're not in there. No.
So Indiana's undefeated at 6-0, beat Ohio. Let's say Indiana wins that game 45-42 or whatever that score was, but Indiana wins it. And then they beat Northwestern 22-10 in the Big Ten championship game to finish 6-0. Is Indiana in there? Are they the 3rd team in the country?
No.
Absolutely not. No chance.
So. But it's like the reputation for Ohio State carries them into the playoff, but Notre Dame's reputation doesn't keep them out. Like we saw Notre Dame play Clemson in a playoff 2 years ago, and they got smoked.
Yeah.
We saw Notre Dame play Alabama in a national championship game 8 years ago, and they got smoked. But like that doesn't penalize Notre Dame. Like that reputation, like they'll forget that, but they'll remember Ara Parsegan for some reason. That still floats their boat all these years later. But then negative, positive reputations are just really interpreted a very willy-nilly way.
They're just this is too big a sport. It's the second biggest sport in the country. To have its champions decided like this. Now, has there been an undeserving champion since the playoffs started? No, I don't think so. But the way they determine who gets to play for it is just absurd. It's just absurd. Imagine 3 weeks from now, some committee telling us which team in the NFL is the number one overall seed.
Oh, gosh.
You know what I mean? Look, the Chiefs struggled with the Saints now. They didn't control that game as much as they should have. I don't know that, I might raise the Ravens up, even though they have a worse record than the Browns, whatever it is. Like, it's just ridiculous that it's up to a committee to choose who gets to play for a national championship. And you could say, well, they do it in college basketball too. Well, yeah, but they have 68 spots. There's the 69th best team in the country very rarely will win 6 games in a tournament to win a championship. The 5th team in the country could perhaps win 2 games and win a college football championship. So when they do expand the playoffs, all I want is, what do you need? You need your 5 big conferences, each conference champion. That's it. If you win the conference, I don't care if you win it at 8-4, you have qualified for the postseason tournament. If you win the championship of your conference, and then you have 3 at-large spots that you can use the computers for. And there you go. Or somehow take care of a group of 5 team, but that's not going to happen. So do that. This is just absurd. Did you see the picture of them just in a ballroom? The committee, just in a hotel ballroom. By the way, why do they have to commit? Why do they have to meet? Why do they have to fly to one location to watch games together? But they're all sitting. It looked like a hospitality room in a hotel ballroom. Just a bunch of tables sitting there with big screen TVs, just watching games. And then they're gonna. You knew what did they argue? How long was their meeting? 12 minutes. Look, I think Notre Dame deserves it. All right, cool. I'm gonna go hit the hotel bar. Who's with me? Like that's the extent of their conversations, and they send out some poor guy to have to explain their decisions.
Yeah, if Clemson beats Notre Dame, like both of them are going to make it, right? Like, yeah, okay, we're done. Like they were done Saturday.
Now, I think it was like, okay, now what if it's 60-3? Right. Well, now look, if Notre Dame loses by 57 points, A&M's got a shot, or maybe we go Cincinnati. Right. Oh wait, Notre Dame scored late. Now Dabo's taking Trevor Lawrence out of the game. All right, good, we're good, we're done. We got our 4. Let's go home. So yeah, that's all. I just get worked up about the absurdity of how this sport, which has always been my favorite sport, it still probably is, but not. It's never as special as when you were a kid, but it's still probably my favorite sport. But just how it's always been absurd. It's always been ridiculous how they determine a champion. But even now with the playoff and the committee, it's just some teams just have no chance when the season starts. None.
And also, last thing on that, just the absurdity of this entire season. There was no room at the end for Army, despite the fact, as Stuart Mendel pointed out, there is an Armed Forces Bowl and a Military Bowl. But there's all these contractual obligations to win South Carolina's in a bowl game. But Army, who had a pretty good season, won the Commander-in-Chief trophy as well.
They were 9-2. Again, it lays it naked.
Say it, man. Own your southernness, man.
That's the one thing.
Own it.
Naked. It's just what I can't get it out of me. It lays it nude to bear, just the whole system that an Army 9-2 doesn't get into a bowl, but contractual obligations determine that the SEC has to have a bowl team. So South Carolina fired their coach, has an interim coach. What are they, 2-9, South Carolina?
Yeah, I think so.
Tennessee's 3-7. They're both going to bowl games. But Army, if ever there was a reason to rise up against the current bowl system and say enough is enough, Army, our heroes, our national heroes, the guys that go and keep us safe, that protect our country, that are going to be officers in the United States Army. You talk about sacrifice, what those guys have done, not just for this year, but what they will do for their lives. And the BS bowl system won't let a deserving 9-2 Army team play in a bowl game because their contractual obligations with ESPN determined that shit-ass South Carolina gets to play in a bowl game. Sorry, we probably got to bleep that out.
You got to. Hey, man, we're a grown-up show. You got to punctuate things sometimes.
Well, it really, really bothered me. Like, if not for them, then just blow it all up, man. It's been a mockery forever, this bowl system. But 9-1 or 9-2 Army that played all 11 games, they don't get to go to a bowl and experience a bowl. But South Carolina, who does not even have a head coach that's coaching their team right now, gets in. That was 2-8 and was ready to be done. They get to play in a bowl. They have to play in a bowl game. They don't even want to go, but because of money. Because of ESPN, they get to go play in a bowl game.
Best part is bowl season starts today, folks, 2:30 p.m.
What?
Conway, South Carolina, the Myrtle Beach Bowl. McGee and Marty are going to be on the call. App State, North Texas.
Oh, God. What a season.
Let's go, baby.
What? It's tomorrow? It starts tomorrow?
It starts Monday.
When are the playoff games? Are they Wednesday? I don't have any idea what the schedule is. When are the semifinals? Are they Christmas?
No, man. New Year's Day. They're always New Year's Day. Semifinals.
Well, no, they were like 29th and 28th at some point there for a while. But they're
they
New Year's
moved it
Day.
up,
So
I think after a few years, now they're trying to make it.
So we got
like
10 days left.
Yeah.
Hey, before we go, we got to talk about the Florida State basketball team.
We don't have to, but yeah, go ahead.
Well, I mean, look,
we do. I'm just kidding.
Number 15, they're 4-0, and that was just you want to just chalk it up to a bad law or just a bad night. They could not guard Central Florida, which was a little bit concerning, and I thought Leonard was un-Leonard-like in that game because he'll usually say we got room to improve. We're not a finished product and all that, even when they win, but he's not real specific. But in this one, he was pretty specific, saying, look. We're not a good. Everybody knows we're not a good rebounding team, and we don't have any protection at the rim. He goes, now we've been winning games. We've been winning close games. They haven't been blowouts, but they exploited our deficiencies, which are they don't rebound well, and they did not on Saturday night, and they don't protect the rim at all, and they certainly didn't do that. And basically calling out his bigs, Malik Osborne, Balsha. Ballard, if he plays, whoever they're going to play it forward, they've got to rebound better, and they've got to find a way to quit giving up so many easy looks at the rim. But he really lamented their not being able to keep the guys off the dribble from getting in the paint, containing the dribble. And then part of it was just Central Florida was really good, man. I don't think at the end of the year that's going to be a bad loss because I think that's a potential tournament team. They have 3 legitimate dudes that can really score, and they're long and can guard. They're athletic. They're more athletic than Florida State. Or at least they were on Saturday night, which is a weird thing to say, but they were. So, yeah, I don't know if it's anything to get worried about necessarily, but it was a little disconcerting to see you lose by double digits at home to a team that hadn't played in 2 weeks.
Oh, the streak ending is a bummer, man. How many home games in a row was that streak?
I think it was like 29 overall. It was the last time they lost at home was the buzzer beater to Duke.
Yeah.
But I think it was like 41 straight non-conference home games they had won, something like that. So that had been 5-6 years since they had lost. But
41, 41 against non-con, 27 straight home games.
So yeah, they came to an end. I felt like that was probably a no doubt thing this year anyway, because it's not really a home court advantage when there's I would say there were 800 people in that place on Saturday night. But yeah, you just what you got to get. There's just again, losses always. You always make more out of losses than you probably should. Instead of just chalking it up to one bad game in a weird year, and it's basketball anyway. Those things happen. Because remember last year, they were down 18 to Western Carolina in the second half at home. They played terribly against South Florida in Tampa. I think it was Tampa. No, it was in the Orange Bowl Classic thing. Down in South Florida, and had to win that game in the final minute. And that wasn't a very good South Florida team. So they had moments just like this last year where they struggled, especially early, where they struggled. They were still trying to find things, and they were kind of just bailed out by, Devin and Trent. Well, those guys are gone, and they weren't necessarily bailed out by their defense yet, and they don't really have, other than MJ Walker, they don't have an offensive guy that played all that well on Saturday night. Scotty Barnes just had a bad game. And you just hope that that stops. Like there was a freshman on UCF's team that had 22 and 8, and Scotty Barnes had 8 points, and he had 5 points with a minute left to go in the game. So that was a dud from him. Hopefully it'll be his last one for a while.
It's always more difficult being a football school that learns how to watch basketball as opposed to vice versa. Because, especially Florida State, like you're not used to losing it. When you lose, it's catastrophic. But, yeah, it's just, it was a game that was played at 11 o'clock. I mean, I don't even know.
No lie.
I mean, when the buzzer finally sound on that game, just late game and weird situation. They'll be back at action later tonight, 7 p.m., Gardner-Webb. Are you going to be there, Corey?
I believe I will be. I'm in town. I might as well go, right? And,
okay. All right.
Take my binoculars with me.
And then they're going to take.
I literally can't see. I can't see anything. I can't see who's on the floor. Like a Florida State player came out of the game with a cramp, and I had no idea who it was. I had to get my binoculars out to see who it was. That's not a shot, by the way, at where we're sitting as much as my eyesight is terrible.
Yeah. And then Florida State's going to take an 8-day respite before they get back to ACC play, taking on Clemson up in Littlejohn. So we'll do something similar. Not sure just how many days off we will be, but if there is important recruiting news, we'll have videos with Michael Langston up on our YouTube page, and obviously we'll be over on warchant.com. But we'll see you somewhere on the flip side of this. I think we're gonna probably be gone for the rest of the week. But again, if there's something big breaking that's deserving of Corey Clark and me opining for 20 to 30 minutes, we'll do it. We're still here. We're functioning. But
how long a show are we at now? Now
we're at 65 minutes, champ.
Holy moly! And you got to hear me curse.
That's great.
And you got me here to applaud Michael Vick's dogfighting stable. So it's been a great way to start the holidays. But for real, happy holidays, Merry Christmas. If we don't talk to you before then, it's been a season and a year unlike any in Wake Up Warchant history. But we're proud to bring it to you every day, even though we might be taking the next week off.
That's right. Thanks so much for listening throughout the rocky season that was. We will be here, but we'll be off for a few days. As Corey said, happy holidays, Merry Christmas to you and yours. He's Corey. I'm Aslan. Thanks for listening to Wake Up Warchant, presented by Zaxby's. Indescribably good.
WarChant.com is the ultimate inside source for FSU football and recruiting. And now you can get in on the action for free for an entire month. WarChant.com is offering a risk-free 30-day trial subscription. Get full access to the #1 website covering the Seminoles just by entering the promo code WarChant30. That's WarChant30. Sign up and get in on the world's most active FSU message boards. Receive breaking news, stories from our award-winning staff, plus get exclusive interviews and videos. Just enter the promo code WarChant30. WarChant.com, your ultimate Seminole sports source.